What's going on, people? You're now locked into the Goodman audio experience. Today we have Danny, Omeli, Ade, and myself, Dimeji, and we're going to be talking about insurance. So to kick it off, let's start with Omeli.
Alright, so thanks for listening. I know this is not the sexiest topic, but the reason why I kind of wanted to bring it up today is because I'm from, like, in my day job, you know, when I'm not, you know, going around the streets in the night like Batman. In my day job, I work in risk management, which is part of insurance. And one of the key things I've been seeing recently are like families doing GoFundMes for like tragic passings, or people with the businesses are in hard situations using GoFundMes. And it's great to see like a whole community of people come together and support someone's business or someone's funeral, etc. But then I kind of put my professional cap on and realize that, you know, it's quite scary how some of these things that people are doing GoFundMe for is traditionally just covered by if you had life insurance or business insurance. And I kind of wanted to get you guys' views in terms of why you feel like that is an obvious blind spot. Why someone could go out, get a phone on finance that's worth £1,000 and not leave the iPhone store and if they left the iPhone store and not got, I don't know, phone cover, they'll feel like I'm a complete arsehole. But you take your body in cars, you get in lifts, you get on planes, and no one's ever thought to put, you know what, if I was to pass away, what happens then? And it feels like there's this, I don't know if there's a disconnect or if it's a generational thing, but coming from the people I get to meet at work and clients I get to meet, it's one of the key things that they believe in terms of how do they protect themselves and the people that they would leave behind, whether it's life, whether it's their will, whether it's their assets. I just feel like there's a whole big blind spot in the community that I come from whereby no one's having that conversation. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't want to be the guy in the GoFundMe comments giving £10 and say, but did you ever think about getting life insurance? But I do find myself giving the £10 and thinking, but surely, like, was there no life? Was there no will? So I just kind of want to get your guys' views in terms of, like, do you think insurance is a scam? Does it come into your brain? Like, what view is it?
You know what, me personally, I've never actually thought of life insurance, but I kind of get why it wouldn't be people's first choice, because no one really expects their life to be in danger. No one expects to be put in harm's way. Actually, we put ourselves in harm's way, but we don't really think about it. We rather protect our possessions, cars, house, phones, all of that bullshit. Really, our lives are more valuable than anything else. And we should protect it and insure it and make sure that our family are good if the worst was to happen to us. But before this conversation, I have never actually thought of life insurance, and I probably should.
But the thing is, like, I don't want it to be pressure in terms of, like, any of you guys. You know, it all depends on what you want from life and after you're gone. If your point of view is, look, I'm here to have a good time, but not for a long time, and then that's it. You check out. I would never say, I'm not trying to preach to the choir or preach to anyone and say, you know, you're missing a blind spot. It's just my view that it's just wild that I keep seeing the same pattern, the same demographic of people going to these GoFundMe pages, and it's just like, this is so fucked up.
Because it shouldn't have to get to that point.
It shouldn't have to get to that point.
Avoidable.
Yeah, I think, you know what, like, I think you're right when you say it's a generational thing as well. Even life insurance, my parents are in their late 40s and late 50s now. This is only something that they're thinking about now. And I think it's the realization of we are hitting a certain stage in our life. And so now we need to think about these things in a bit more detail. Do we have a will? What's going to happen after we go, etc. But I think you make a great point. And you know, I think both of you alluded to the fact that perhaps we place more value on material possessions than we do on our own bodies, and it's something that we take for granted. I think, you know, memento mori, we don't meditate on our deaths enough. We don't realize that every single day is something that we take for granted. And in a world where we've got COVID, where we're in a pandemic, where we're in a recession now, and the likelihood and the risk of illness and death is higher than it has been this time last year, is something that I think we need to take a bit more seriously.
It's dangerous times.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like there's for me as a black person, I feel like there's a big cultural thing. I feel like for black people, there's a lot of focus on legacy or leaving something rather than preserving something after you're gone. There's a lot of focus on like building, having like, there's this like, I'm African as well, so there's this like kind of big man complex that's now kind of distilled through capitalism into you want to work really hard and that's the focus, and when you're here you work hard and you look after people while you're here and that's your focus. Specifically even from like a male perspective as well. So I think there's so much focus on that perhaps there isn't as much time to think about after you're gone. And I think that because this is coming from a reflection of a conversation I had with my mum about insurance. And I was like, why don't we have home insurance? We have a home. Things have gone wrong. If we had, at uni, I had insurance. If something went wrong, wasn't coming out of my pocket.
Yeah.
Why don't we have it here? And for her, it was just like, yeah, God is our insurance. There's stuff to do. Like, there's stuff to do right now. And I understood that for her, it wasn't a thing of like, it was a longer conversation. There was an acknowledgement that insurance is a useful thing. However, right now, there are other things that I'm thinking about right now. There's stuff in Nigeria, there's family here, there's my work, there's you guys, there's
It's not priority.
So I feel like culturally there's that element of, there's so much focus of legacy building whilst you're here that perhaps it doesn't leave as much time to think about when you're gone, and then that distills into us. So because it hasn't been a conversation we've like been able to eavesdrop on or we've had directly, it's not something that we consider. So you'll sit there and you'll think about like, oh yeah, job, family, this, that, the other, but you can only list things that you are aware of.
Yeah.
And if you haven't had that conversation, or it hasn't been a spoken thing, you don't have the opportunity to even grasp elements of it to then have like the wonder or the curiosity to then look into it yourself, because it's not there in your mind. You haven't heard it. I think that's why it's like now for a lot of us, it's like, okay, you see a lot of more TV ads now.
Yeah.
You hear about people going on holiday insurance. I think is the big introducer of insurance for our generation.
Yeah.
People go on holiday, something goes wrong, they're stuck. I don't want that to happen for me.
Yeah.
I'm going to get that. All right, cool. What happens to my house? What happens to my car? Why do I have car insurance?
Yeah.
And then it starts to trickle in. But I feel like that, in my opinion, like observing it, I think that's like the cascade or the sequence of events that's led to us now. And I guess that's why people in our generation are now asking that question of like, what are the benefits of life insurance? Like, what does that look like? What does it actually do?
I get that.
Okay. So for the listeners out there now, what are the benefits of life insurance? Can anyone break that down for us? Because I'm not going to say anything because I don't know enough about it. But if anyone is here.
Yeah, I'm looking straight at you.
Okay. So I'm going to take us home. So essentially it's something that you pay away to an insurance company. They would essentially, it sounds pretty fucked up, but the input you give them, they kind of get a gauge of like how much you earn, how much you could earn based on if you were to continue doing this in your life, etc. Then they take into stuff like your dietary, your health, and they basically get a mathematic formula to say, averagely, this person probably is going to die at this time. You know, what's the risk? How much money's on the table, etc., etc. If they passed away early, and that way, by doing that, they can now put a number on your head. So, if you pass away, we are going to pay out X to your next of kin. Now, the reason why, to me, it's kind of felt important, and I'm going to touch on stuff like, even it doesn't cover stuff like critical illness, which is crazy, but it's the very fact that you see so many situations where it's like, a parent passes away and it's only their kids, and you see so much burden on, like, the kid has to carry everything, pay for a funeral, there's a mortgage over their head that they didn't subscribe to, debt that the parent didn't pay off, that we spoke about, legacy, all these stuff. And it's like life insurance is literally the same price, or definitely more than less, you pay for a phone. And it's like you pay that the same way you pay a phone. You are actually protecting a lot more than your phone. With your phone, it's just pictures, a phone book, social media, etc. But with the actual fact of the life insurance is, I can get it. Us guys in this room right now, we're approaching our primes. I completely understand that we're in a stage in our lives where we may not say it, but there's a kind of an air of immortality. Like we've got so much to live for.
Yeah.
Like, think about it. If one of our peers passed away, there's always shock, as if like, how could he die? We had Chadwick Boseman, We had Kobe, and a lot of it was like, oh, these freak accidents, etc., etc. But it's because these men were seen to be like in their prime, strong, what it meant to be, and it's like for them to go down, it's like the reason why you feel the grief is because then death becomes real, and it's crazy. I saw a joke about celebrating birthdays and saying that, you know, if aliens came to our planet and saw us celebrate birthdays, they'll be like, wait, so you guys celebrate every year you get closer to death? And it's like, and it's that thing of like, well, of course we don't think of it because we feel like you go through that life of like, when you get older, when you get to 80, you see your grandparents, they're more probably, they understand that their birthday is a celebration because this could be it. You know, another 12 months, let's see if I see you guys again. But for us, it's kind of like we're older, we're getting closer to our prime.
We're getting better. We're getting better.
And yeah, I just feel like, it's not nice because the actual thing of doing insurance against your life is a formula. I can't give it to you any romantic way. You know, an insurance company will say, look, Dan, we see what you do. Okay, we see the money you bring in. You live a healthy lifestyle, so you're not really at risk. All right, we're going to charge you X. You pass away, accident, let's pay out, we think if he lives his full life, 300,000, pay it out. Done. You know, there's no emotion behind it. There's no feeling behind it. And for some people from different groups and different dynamics, that's something they don't want to take on. They don't want to have a number against my head. You know, I could make it tomorrow and be a billionaire. That's not going to be accounted for in your life insurance. So I can understand why no one wants to have that conversation. It's morbid. I can't lie, it's morbid. But it's a conversation I think needs to be had because I'm tired of seeing families on GoFundMes, like seeing businesses on GoFundMes, and it's just like, yo, you can do this properly. There's nothing wrong with GoFundMes. I will still help, but you got to help yourself. And that just kind of like, I feel like an asshole now.
No, but
you know what? It's true though. I think we should all put ourselves in a good position to start off with, so we don't have to rely on things like GoFundMe. I'm not condemning GoFundMe, but like there's certain things that we can do so that if the worst was to happen, we've covered ourselves. Then obviously any help we get outside is a bonus.
Yeah, no, I think with a lot of these things, whether it's life insurance or other types of insurance, we don't realize the risk of something going wrong until something happens. So for example, towards the beginning of the year, I was meant to go over to the States. Obviously, trip got cancelled because of Corona. I had such a massive issue with Airbnb trying to get my money back. Ever since then, I've always thought to myself, all right, if I go on a holiday again, 100% I'm going to get insurance. I would rather pay that small difference on top to protect myself. But if that hadn't have happened, I would have still gone ahead with, oh, well, what's the likelihood of something going wrong? Let me not pay that marginal difference on top. So it's that marginal benefit that you either or you either fairly value or you don't. And I guess we place that same value on our lives or not. It's something that we take for granted.
And I guess paying that extra money gives you peace of mind as well.
Yeah.
Because you know that if the worst happens, you know, you're covered. You haven't lost out on money or you haven't lost out on an opportunity. You can maybe get it back.
Yeah.
I guess then from a socio-economic point of view, if you're looking at perhaps lower income households and perhaps some of the families and businesses that are having to go through GoFundMe, from their perspective, and obviously I'm generalizing, but they might be in a position where they're thinking we can't really afford to, or we don't want to have to pay that extra cost of business insurance or phone insurance or this type of insurance, because they're trying to minimize their costs as much as possible.
Fair.
I know for my household, especially if we were ever doing something or buying something, even if I'm getting my phone, my dad would never get me phone insurance because it's just an extra cost for him. It's not something that he thinks is valuable or necessary.
Yeah.
So that's another factor that we've got to consider too. Like, what's the household income like?
Okay, so this may be a stupid question, but is there an insurance that covers life and, you know, your material possessions or whatever? So like an insurance that covers a wide range of things rather than just like one, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So for some people, so I had a friend that recently bought a property, and a lot of these insurance brokers and insurance carriers, what they do is that they're trying to package this whole, you know, all for one, you know, you're going to buy a property, so we're going to give you life insurance, etc., everything that can cover you. You know, if anything goes wrong, your contents, etc., etc. So there is that. Now, me being on the podcast and me being a Goodman, I gotta be a good man right now. I gotta be transparent. And one of the key things is that there has been murky stuff in the past with insurance. You know, I think we've all in this room heard about PPI before. And this is what happened. and so I've got to give you guys two sides of the same story. So, you know, there was a whole thing with PPI. I'm not going to go into it, but basically people were missold insurance that they did not need. And I can completely understand why someone would look at a form of critical illness cover or life insurance cover and think, I do not need that, because what I intend to do with my life, I'm going to be here long enough that my people are going to be good. So I don't see how I'm literally giving money away for free. That doesn't make any sense. And when you start doing that, I completely get it. You know, before I was aware, I didn't believe in critical illness cover. I was like, why am I going to invite that energy into my life that I can get some sort of, I'm not going to die, but I'm going to be so fucked up that I'm not going to be able to do anything for the rest of my life. Why would I? No chance. I don't want to think about that. But then, it's like what you said, Dan. Like, you hear stories and it's like, you know, someone got MLS or motor neuron disease, and if they had that critical illness cover before they were diagnosed, or even, you know, cancer, you know, like Chadwick Boseman, for example, you know that, look, I might be here for 4 years fighting cancer, but I know you guys are good. There's no stress. There's none of this fighting for my will. There's none of this, you know, you need to break your legs and, you know, to do X, Y, and Z. I know. But the scary thing about insurance is that it always makes sense in 2020 hindsight. It always makes sense. It's always justified. But that's why I feel like it's a tragic it's tragic business, because it's kind of like I told you so. You know, you can live your life, be healthy, and you could have spent, I don't know, £10,000 in premium about critical illness cover. Now someone can look at you and say, you dumbass, look, you got to 90 years old and you never used it. But then what about the kid, or what about the man that, you know, gets prostate cancer at 35 with a young family? And he thought he could get to that. So, and that's what it's kind of like, you have to bet on your life. That's what insurance is. You got to bet on your life. Do you want to bet on your life that you're going to come out of this and then it's going to cost you X? Or are you going to say, you know what, let me leverage my bets. Let me put something into this that if something goes wrong, because that's all it is at the end of the day, if something goes wrong, and I don't want to be told I told you so by the universe, everyone gets paid out. And that's kind of what I see. But it's definitely a double, because people get missold stuff. People get told you need this, you need that to cover. You don't. Like Dan, you said about your dad, he'll get you a phone and he wouldn't get your phone insurance. I can understand it from an old school perspective of, well, if you're getting this £500 phone and you've lost it or you've got it stolen, hey, the universe has told you weren't going to have that phone. So I'm going to respect the universe. I'm not going to go and encourage it by paying a premium so that when you've lost it, you can just shrug your shoulders and say, well, I'll get another one. You know, you're going to value that item. You're going to protect it. That. I've seen people when I was growing up in school, I would see their Nokia and their last legs, and the person would be like, I cannot let this phone die. So I completely get the social dynamic and this, how people view things. But ultimately, it's not for me to tell anyone you should do it or not, but I've seen people bet against it, and I've seen people on GoFundMe's, and that's kind of, it's whether you want to be on a GoFundMe or you want to be able to call someone and say, hey, you need to pay this out, and you know you're good for it. It's not coming out of your bank account, it's coming out of theirs. So yeah.
Ooh, well, guys, if you're listening, go and get your life insurance. No, I'm joking. Obviously, if you're thinking about it, it's best to speak to someone who knows what they're talking about. If you want, go and speak to O'Malley, because obviously he's been talking for about 20 minutes now. But on a serious note, it's something worth considering, especially if you live a dangerous lifestyle, or you got a family, you want to make sure everyone's good. Essentially, you're paying for your peace of mind, just like you'd pay for your peace of mind on your phone. If it breaks, you know you're covered. Do it on your life, man. Your life is the most valuable thing you have, and you know, no one knows when the time is going to be up. So I suggest you guys look into it. But yeah, we're going to wrap up the session now. It's been a very informative session. I've learned a lot.
Yeah, no, thank you. Now I'm starting to think I need to get my insurance sorted out when I'm finished.
I need to do some research. But again, you're here with Danny, O'Malley, and Ade, and myself, Demeji. And that's a wrap on this session. So discount code GPOD1 for discount on all your Goodman needs, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace.